Hello and welcome to FinTech Finance's 2 Minutes With. I'm your host, Doug Mackenzie, and on today's show, I actually have Ben Nowlan from Shaparency. So Ben, I've got to ask you, how are you doing here today?
I've made the move from where I live up to a lovely part of England and Derbyshire, so
It looks very cozy.
bit of a break living. I'm actually in a nice big old manor, so it's a nice break from what I'm usually doing, which is sitting on a couch running a business, right? So I'm feeling pretty good today, and we've had a nice weather, which is again something that
You're just rubbing it in further. I'm so envious. Now, with that in mind, then, we're here to talk about that business, Shaparency. Can you tell our audience who might not be familiar a bit more about it, please?
Yep. So we are a board management and board performance tool for small to medium organizations predominantly. And that's effectively about taking, what you do around the boardroom, all the governance activities, the meetings, the minutes, the papers, the voting, and then also the performance of those non-execs. And we take all that online and we've digitized it. Less than 85% of boards around the world, less than 15% of boards around the world are actually using any type of digital tools. It's quite an archaic. It's like the last frontier of digitization. So, as we see, over the next, I guess 5 years, this will start to happen. So it's a really good space to be in.
Yeah, I can imagine, and it's one of those. It's funny. It's one of the last places to really embrace digitization because it's probably one of the most necessary. And digitization comes down from the top, so it's brilliant to hear that that's starting to change. Now, I'm interested in maybe looking at some of the clients that Shaparency's kind of looked at. Some of them are actually not-for-profit clients. Am I correct with that?
Yeah, we've got not-for-profits, we've got private companies, startups. We've got large fintech startups down in Colombia through to
Wow.
through to small listed companies in Australia, through to not-for-profits as well. And some quite big ones from Habitat for Humanity to Girl Scouts in the US to Motor Neuron Disease Association down in Australia, and even here we've got some great ones. Dame Kelly Holmes Trust. So we've been very fortunate to get some really big names, I guess you could say, in supporting software and supporting what we're doing, which is actually helping them save a lot of time and money.
Yeah. And the bottom dollar is so important. Now, speaking of the bottom dollar, sometimes that got a bit crazy during the pandemic. 2020 was pretty mad for new businesses to come onto the scene. So I've got to ask, why did you find Shaparency during the pandemic?
I'd like to say everything was planned, in terms of, okay, I maybe not sadistically planned a pandemic, but I think there was a couple of inputs there, and one of them is that the space is going to change and transform no matter what, and the right at the beginning of when we all went into lockdown, pretty much the world went into shutdown. It was an opportunity to go, well, do I push through this or do I not? But looking at what we do and looking at what was going to be the opposite, and it proven to make I guess a bet that this was a great opportunity to push through. Often when there's a lot of adversity, not for it to be a corny motivational statement, but this is the opportunity to actually make some good ground. And so yes, we were helping boards that had barely even used a Zoom account, that
Okay.
are now going, well, hang on, how do we run a board meeting and do voting? And now we're all stuck in our homes, or we're from opposite sides of the world. And so some of these challenges already existed, but the pandemic really highlighted it. So it's been a great couple of years for us.
Incredible. Now, what really has the impact been on the venture capital space?
In general, I think like there's a lot of liquidity around at the moment, and I see this, and I know that some venture capital firms have have had the highest sort of deal rate that they've ever had. So I think that's I don't know if that's coincidental, but what you're also seeing is businesses that are really primed to capitalize on this space. And take retail tech as an example. High street retailers have been, unfortunately, it's like, the tide's gone out on them, and it's forced a lot of investment, or it's led to a lot of investment into retail tech online. You've seen acquisitions, Square and Afterpay and Shopify. there's a lot of movement there. So certain segments are seeing the highest activity they've ever had, but then in other areas you're seeing portfolios being stretched because a lot of their startups have been really impacted by what's happened. So this has slowed down some activity. So I think it's I don't think a lot has changed. I think it's really balanced out, but I think you're really starting to see where's the world going to focus in terms of investment over the next 10 years, because we're going to have a different world out of this no matter what. Some of it will just bounce back. We've been urbanizing for 3,000 years, so we're not going to all suddenly move to the country and forget that we want to live in London, right? So
Yeah.
things that support the way that our relationship with the office, support online and hybrid meetings, support retailers online, support logistics and delivery, and support whatever it is that might support this sort of new way of living. I think that's going to be really interesting in the next couple of years.
Well, I think you're in an absolutely brilliant space to take advantage of that now. That leads me to my last question. If we could wrap up with looking at the future of Shaparency. I know you're in a really brilliant position there, but what are you guys looking to work on next?
Yeah, the main project for us, particularly kicking off this half of the year, and that's been the focus all year, is to now that you're getting boards to go digital, what boards are now focusing on is board effectiveness. And on a global average, boards are underperforming. Lethargy, lack of education, even to do with the demographics or composition of boards. Average composition of board is a 61-year-old white male. And so with board tools and board performance measurement, it's kind of like what you're not measuring, you can't manage. And so we're going to start to roll out some board evaluation surveys, self-evaluation tests, diversity and inclusion tests, and these things that are already existing, but bringing them into an ecosystem starts putting these tools in the hands of these organizations that that don't have to go out and pay consultants to do this stuff. So that's exciting for us, because now we're really building out the ecosystem of the platform.
Incredible. Well, Ben, thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I really want to look at out for you guys more in the future. Where can our audience find more about you?
Yep, go to www.shaparency.com and you'll find everything, or you can see us on all the social media channels, Instagram, LinkedIn, and thank you for today. It's been awesome.
It's been our pleasure. Thank you very much. Goodbye.